This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
The Supreme Court majority seems likely to back President Trump's power to fire independent agency board members. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
Marjorie Taylor Greene on why Republicans won't stand up to President Trump.
I think they're terrified.
I'm Richard Johnson.
A Texas congresswoman running for Senate.
She's definitely a low IQ person.
I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, the market kicked off the week with losses as traders wait for the last Federal Reserve meeting of the year. I'm Jill Schneider.
Police say a person of interest is in custody in connection with the shooting of New York Jets player Chris Boyd. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
A bailout is in the works for farmers hurt by trade troubles, and a court clerk in trouble with the law over her actions during a high-profile murder trial. All ahead on America in the Morning. The Supreme Court signaled Monday that it is prepared to hand President Donald Trump another win in his drive to consolidate presidential power over federal agencies. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports on a decision that could end a 90-year precedent.
You're asking us to destroy the structure of government and to take away from Congress its ability to protect its idea that the government is better structured with some agencies that are independent.
The Supreme Court's conservative majority seems likely to back President Trump's power to fire independent agency board members.
The other side says that your position would undermine the independence of the Federal Reserve, and they have concerns about that, and I share those concerns. So how would you distinguish the Federal Reserve from agencies such as the Federal Trade Commission?
Unique and distinct. The Federal Reserve has been described as sui generis. Any issues of removal restrictions as a member of the Federal Reserve would raise their own set of unique, distinct issues, as this court said in Wilcox against Harris. We have not challenged those, either in this case or any other case.
During oral arguments, Chief Justice John Roberts and the 5 others suggested they would overturn the 90-year-old decision that has limited when presidents can fire those members.
Humphrey's executor is just a dried husk of whatever people used to think it was.
The court's already let some board members be ousted, even as legal challenges continue. Ketanji Brown Jackson argues it's a presidential power grab, allowing the chief executive to strip experts from key institutions.
Having a president come in and fire all the scientists and the doctors and the economists and the PhDs and replacing them with loyalists and people who don't know anything is actually not in the best interest of the citizens of the United States.
Amit Agarwal, who represents a fired FTC commissioner, worries about the potential damage.
Tomorrow you'll have a situation where the president can come in and unilaterally decide, this is a quintessentially lawmaking function, unilaterally decide what constitutes an unfair method of competition, what constitutes an unfair trade practice. If that was going to be the law, why wouldn't Congress just reserve that power to itself? Everything is on the chopping block.
Sagar Meghani at the White House.
Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't hold back about President Trump and some of her Republican colleagues in a 60 Minutes interview. President Trump has demanded the media outlet apologize and dropped a few insults of Greene himself on social media. More on the story from correspondent Rich Johnson.
Weeks after saying she's resigning from the House and has no future political plans, Greene shared details of her split with Trump with Leslie Stahl on the CBS program 60 Minutes. While she had strong words for the president, she also blasted her soon-to-be former colleagues for both cowardice.
I think they're terrified to step out of line and get a nasty Truth Social post on them.
And hypocrisy.
I watched many of my colleagues go from making fun of him, making fun of how he talks, making fun of me constantly for supporting him, to when he won the primary in 2024, they all started, excuse my language, Leslie, kissing his ass and decided to put on a MAGA hat for the first time.
Since her split with Trump, Greene says she's been the target of death threats, as has her son, for which she blames the president.
The subject line for the direct death threats on my son was his words, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Greene says she reported those threats to top administration officials, including the president himself.
I got response back from President Trump that I will keep private, but it wasn't very nice.
While she will remain silent on that response, Trump has not been silent about Greene's interview. Hours after it aired, he took to social media to say that Greene was never MAGA, or as she now calls herself, America First, because in Trump's words, nobody could have changed her views so fast, and her new views are those of a very dumb person. Trump also blasted the new ownership of CBS, calling it no better than the old ownership. As for Greene and her future, she says she's done with politics.
Zero desire to run for president. I would hate the Senate. I'm not running for governor.
But she adds, as many times as she has said that, few seem to believe her. I'm Rich Johnson.
Billions in farm aid. Trump's new plan when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues with the National Outlook. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
It has been a season of clipper storms so far as we've entered these colder months. We have one system continuing eastward through the eastern Great Lakes and northeast today with a little snow along and ahead of it. This will slowly diminish this afternoon as it reaches New England. Some places near the lakes could see a few inches, but probably less than an inch across northern New England. The next storm is shifting into northeast Montana this morning and then quickly heading through North Dakota into central Minnesota during the midday and afternoon. Moderate area of snow will develop along and north of the path of the system, with several inches possible in eastern North Dakota into central and northern Minnesota. Snow will then shift into Wisconsin late in the day and continue at night, while also heading into Michigan and even western New York late tonight. Snowfall totals here will generally range from 3 to 6 inches, but a few places could see as much as a foot. To the south of the storm, we are still seeing a little bit of mixture of rain and sleet through central and northern South Dakota into southern Minnesota and then eastward into Illinois and Ohio tonight. At the northwest, the atmospheric river will continue to spread heavy rain throughout the region, but specifically along the coasts of northern Oregon into Washington today and tonight. There could be another 2 to 4 inches of rainfall with locally higher amounts, and this is on top of the 2 to 4 that fell during the day Monday. The southern states are much less active today, with dry weather largely expected from California eastward through central and southern Rockies into the central and southern plains, mid-Atlantic, and southeast. That's the weather across America. We'll have another round of heavy rain in Portland, Oregon today with some flooding possible and a high near 60. A little snow will be moving through Syracuse, New York with an inch or two throughout the day and a high of 28. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. A controversial Democratic congresswoman from Texas is making a run for the U.S. Senate in what could become the most watched Senate campaign of the midterm elections. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has officially filed paperwork and has entered the race for a Senate seat in Texas. That seat currently belongs to senior Senator John Cornyn, who's being challenged in the Republican primary by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Crockett's been highly critical of President Trump, who hasn't held back about the congresswoman either. These comments were featured in Crockett's campaign announcement video.
How about this new one they have, their new star, Crockett? How about her? She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble. She's definitely a low IQ person.
She was silent with a stone-cold face during the video, with Trump's voice in the background. The video ended with Crockett making a smirk. She later held an official campaign launch in Dallas.
There are a lot of people that said, you got to stay in the House. We need our voice. We need you there. And I understand. But what we need is for me to have a bigger voice. What we need is not only a voice, but we need to make sure that we are going to stop all the hell that is raining down on all of our people.
Former Democratic Congressman Colin Allred withdrew his name from the race hours before Crockett's announcement, saying that a potential runoff or tense Democratic primary could hurt the party in November. He's now running for a newly drawn congressional seat in Texas's District 33. A Democrat hasn't won a race for Texas Senate in decades. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Trump on Monday announced a $12 billion farm aid package. Most of the aid, $11 billion, will be directed toward crop farmers through one-time payments under the Farmer Bridge Assistance Program. The remaining $1 billion will be reserved for other crops, which the U.S. Department of Agriculture will determine based on market conditions. The president has said for months he would provide aid to farmers because of ongoing trade disputes. China severely cut back on purchases of soybeans over tariff threats and only now are making some purchases, but not at previous levels. The Department of Agriculture expects that payments to farmers could begin as soon as mid-February. Dow tumbles on Fed meeting concerns. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. The Business Report is sponsored by Gusto. Gusto's a simple online payroll and benefits tool built for small businesses. Learn more at gusto.com/radio. Here's CNBC's Jill Schneider with the Tuesday Report.
Stocks will try to make up some ground today after Monday losses. Investors are holding back as they await the last Federal Reserve meeting of the year. All the major indexes finished in the red. The Dow tumbling 215 points, nearly 0.5%. The S&P 500 dropping 24 points, about 1/3%. And the Nasdaq losing 32. Traders have grown increasingly hopeful over recent weeks that the Fed will lower interest rates once again after cutting at both September and October's meetings. BlackRock's Rick Reeder weighed in.
I think now, given the deceleration you're seeing in labor and a bit elevated inflation, but it's not really impacted by this interest rate, that I think you can get to 3% without any question whatsoever. I think this committee will go in a more deliberate fashion, but yes, I would go to get to 3%.
Paramount Skydance is launching a hostile bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. CEO David Ellison spoke exclusively with CNBC.
This deal, if it is allowed to move forward, will actually be the death of the theatrical movie business in Hollywood. We're sitting here today trying to save it.
Paramount is going straight to shareholders with an all-cash $30 per share offer. Netflix won a bidding war for the Warner Brothers film studio, an HBO Max streaming service, but it doesn't plan to buy WBD's TV networks. Barton Crockett covers internet media for Rosenblatt Securities. He downgraded Netflix on its blockbuster deal, saying it puts the company in an extended period of uncertainty and risk.
I'm just unconvinced by so much of the uncertainty around here that I'm stepping aside.
Shares of Confluent soared 30% after IBM said it would buy the company in an $11 billion deal. IBM CEO Arvind Krishna telling CNBC the move will allow his company to deploy its AI strategy better and faster.
Nobody can live with the month-old data or even week-old data, and Confluent has the most capable technology to unlock the real-time value of data across all the myriad of applications, clouds, and other APIs that they all deal with.
On Monday, Google said it plans to launch the first of its AI-powered glasses in 2026. The tech company is ramping up its efforts to compete against Meta in a heating consumer market for AI devices. President Trump says the U.S. will allow tech giant NVIDIA to ship its H200 AI chips to, quote, approved customers in China and elsewhere under a set of conditions. In a Truth Social post, the president appeared to say that 25% of the chip sales will be paid to the U.S. government. Home delistings in October were up 45% year to date and up nearly 38% from a year ago. That, according to a new report from Realtor.com. Canceled purchase agreements were also on the rise, now well above pre-pandemic levels. On today's watch list, before the bell, we'll get earnings from Campbell's and AutoZone. After the bell, we'll hear from Dave & Buster's and Cracker Barrel. Boeing will report its November deliveries, and the Federal Reserve kicks off its last two-day meeting of the year.
Very good. CNBC's Jill Schneider. When we return on America in the Morning, likely appeal in the Alex Murdaugh murder case. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. A court clerk in a high-profile South Carolina murder trial is in trouble with the law over her actions during and after the proceedings. Lisa Dwyer reports this could impact a likely appeal of the Alex Murdaugh case.
Former South Carolina court clerk Becky Hill has pleaded guilty to showing sealed court exhibits to a photographer and lying about it in court. She's now been sentenced to 3 years of probation. Hill was in charge of taking care of the jury, overseeing exhibits, and helping the judge during Murdoch's 6-week trial that ended with murder convictions for killing his wife and son. Hill also faced misconduct charges for taking bonuses and promoting a book she wrote about the trial. Her actions have become a focal point in Murdoch's appeal of his murder convictions and a sentence of life without parole. His lawyers say Hill tried to influence jurors to vote guilty and that she was biased against Murdoch for her book. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
An individual is in custody related to the shooting of a professional football player in New York City. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
Police say a person of interest is in custody in connection with the shooting of New York Jets player Chris Boyd. A New York Police Department spokesperson did not say what role, if any, the person is believed to have had in the shooting. No charges have been filed. Boyd was shot in the abdomen just after 2 a.m. on November 16th in Midtown Manhattan. The shooter fled the scene. It was not clear what happened before the shooting. The Jets signed Boyd this year. He was expected to play a key role in a revamped special teams unit, but was injured during practice this summer. I'm Gethin Coolball.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Congress could take action if unedited videos of strikes in the Caribbean aren't released by the Department of War. I'm Clayton Neville.
A judge is taking on the Trump administration's actions over deportations. Again, I'm Katie Clark with details.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been meeting with European allies in London. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
The maker of an iPhone app that flagged sightings of immigration agents is suing the Trump administration for free speech violations. I'm Ed Donahue.
A red letter day for Chinese trade. Tuesday sports with Robert Workman. And the picks for the Golden Globe Awards are in. Back after these messages. Welcome back this Tuesday. You're with America in the Morning. Thanks for listening. Here's the National Outlook with AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Looking at the northwest, we are seeing an atmospheric river continuing to spread heavy rain throughout the region, but specifically along the coasts of northern Oregon into Washington today and tonight. There could be another 2 to 4 inches of rainfall with locally higher amounts. And this is on top of the 2 to 4 that fell Monday. And rain will continue to be a concern on Wednesday as well, with flooding and possible mudslides. Farther east, we're tracking 2 Clipper-type storms. We have one continuing eastward through the eastern Great Lakes into the northeast today with a little snow along and ahead of it. This will slowly weaken this afternoon as it reaches New England. Some places near the lakes could see a few inches, but probably less than an inch across northern New England. The next storm is a little stronger, heading into northeast Montana early and then quickly shifting into North Dakota and then central Minnesota during the midday and afternoon. A moderate area of snow will develop along and north of the path of the system, with several inches possible in eastern North Dakota into central and northern Minnesota. And then snow will shift into Wisconsin late in the day and continue at night, while also heading through Michigan and even western New York late tonight. Snow totals here will generally range from 3 to 6 inches, but a few areas could see as much as a foot. To the south of the storm, there'll be a little rain mixed with sleet through central and northern South Dakota and then into southern Minnesota, and then eastward tonight into Illinois through Ohio. The southern states are much less active today, with dry weather largely expected from California eastward through central and southern Rockies, and then into the central and southern plains, as well as the middle Atlantic and southeast. There will be increasing amounts of sunshine from north to south as you get away from those northern storms. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Congress is planning to withhold Pentagon travel funds unless it sees Venezuelan boat strike videos released by the Department of War. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports this is the latest salvo against the Trump administration to get more details on drug enforcement action in the Caribbean.
There's a demand by members of Congress for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to release unedited video of a second strike on a suspected Venezuelan drug boat in the Caribbean. The Trump administration has been targeting the boats for months and has carried out a number of strikes. Hegseth has said that he was unaware there were survivors of an initial strike and that while he supported a second, he's not the one who ordered it. Concerns have been bipartisan. Republican Senator Rand Paul.
Secretary Hegseth said he had no knowledge of this and it did not happen. It was fake news. It didn't happen. And then the next day from the podium at the White House, they're saying it did happen. So either he was lying or he's incompetent and didn't know it had happened.
Now lawmakers could withhold a quarter of Hegseth's travel budget if he does not provide the unedited videos. This week, the Senate and House of Representatives Armed Services Committees included the travel budget provision in the National Defense Authorization Act, which could become law by the end of this year. This as President Trump continues to defend the strikes.
That was a boat loaded up with drugs. I saw the video. They were trying to turn the boat back to where it could float. And we didn't want to see that because that boat was loaded up with drugs just like everything else.
The president is leaving it up to Hegseth to release the video, but just days ago, Trump told ABC News' Rachel Scott that he'd support the release.
Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what happened?
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release, no problem. You know, we stopped every boat we knock out. We saved 25,000 American lives.
Scott followed up this week, and President Trump bit back.
Are you admitting to releasing the full video?
Didn't I just tell you that?
You said that it was up to Secretary
You're the most obnoxious reporter in the whole place. Let me just tell you, you are an obnoxious, a terrible reporter, and it's always the same thing with you. I told you, whatever Pete Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers still raising concerns about the legality of the strikes in the Caribbean. I'm Clayton Neville.
A federal judge is escalating his inquiry into whether the Trump administration deliberately violated his orders to stop immigration officials from deporting 100 Venezuelan men to a notorious prison in El Salvador. The latest from correspondent Katie Clark.
In March, the Trump administration deported over 100 Venezuelan men who were thought to be members of the Trinidad gang. They were flown from the U.S. to El Salvador's SCOTUS prison without going through the courts. Judge James Boasberg ordered the planes stopped and returned to the U.S., even while the planes were already in flight. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem spoke to Meet the Press about defying the order from the judge.
One of the things that we continue to face across this country is activist judges who are using radical decisions that have no standing and no grounds to try to stop what President Trump is doing to protect America and to keep us safe. We'll continue to do the right thing, continue to work and protect Americans, no matter what radical judge comes out and tries to stop us.
The case went to the Supreme Court, and it found the judge didn't have the authority to halt the planes. Judge Boasberg is going back to court next week to pursue further actions against the administration. 2 Justice Department lawyers who were involved will testify. Ariz Ranvani, former Justice Department immigration lawyer, as well as Drew Ensign, who is a senior Justice Department official, will be in court on December 15th. I'm Katie Clark.
Talks in London involving Ukraine's president and the leaders of the UK, Germany, and France to discuss the U.S.-backed proposal for ending Russia's war in Ukraine. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports the meeting comes as Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukraine will not cede any territory, a central Russian demand to end the Kremlin-initiated war.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been meeting with European allies in London over negotiations on a U.S.-backed plan to end Russia's war against Kyiv. The aim was to boost Ukraine's hand in the talks about the Trump administration's peace proposal amid the president's growing impatience with Zelensky.
So we've been speaking to President Putin, and we've been speaking to Ukrainian leaders, including President Zelensky. And I have to say that I'm a little bit disappointed that President Zelensky hasn't yet read the proposal. His people love it, but he hasn't. Russia's fine with it. Russia, I guess, would rather have the whole country when you think of it. But Russia is, I believe, fine with it. But I'm not sure that Zelensky's fine with it. His people love it. But he hasn't read it.
It's unclear why the president believes that. The tone was different at 10 Downing Street.
Vladimir, very good to see you here on nearly the 4th anniversary of this awful conflict, at a critical stage now in the push for peace. But we will talk this afternoon about the plan in some detail, but the principles remain the principles that we've been based on for a very, very long time, which is that we stand with Ukraine, and if there's to be a ceasefire, it needs to be a just and lasting ceasefire.
Where British Prime Minister Keir Starmer hosted Zelensky, France's Emmanuel Macron, and Germany's Friedrich Merz, who says this is a decisive time.
I'm skeptical about some of the details which we are seeing in the documents coming from the US side, but we have to talk about that. That's why we are here.
And Zelensky says Kyiv needs both European and American support.
There are some things which we can't manage without Americans, things which we can't manage without Europe. And that's why we need to make some important decisions.
Sagar Meghani at the White House.
App maker that calls out ICE agents now suing the government. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. A group of former FBI agents are taking Director Kash Patel and the Trump administration to court, saying they were unjustly punished and fired for trying to defuse a George Floyd protest in 2020. Correspondent Eric Tucker reports.
12 fired FBI agents have sued the Bureau to try to get their jobs back. These are FBI agents who were fired in September for having been photographed kneeling in June of 2020 during a racial justice protest. They say in the lawsuit that that action has actually been misinterpreted by current Director Kash Patel. They say they were not intending to make a political expression or a political gesture. They say instead they were trying to diffuse or de-escalate a tense and volatile situation in the nation's capital. They say that the situation became what they were concerned to be was dangerous after a crowd of protesters came upon them. They did not have extensive training in crowd control or sufficient equipment, and so they decided to collectively take a knee in hopes of causing the situation to de-escalate, which they say it did. It's worth noting that these terminations came as part of a broader personnel purge that's taken place inside the FBI under the leadership of Kash Patel. These agents, in addition to seeking reinstatement, are also seeking pay, and they're also seeking an opportunity to have a name-clearing hearing where they could basically have their records expunged.
Correspondent Eric Tucker. An app maker has filed a lawsuit against the government, claiming First Amendment rights are being violated by demanding Apple remove their IceBlock app from the App Store. In a follow-up to a story we brought you yesterday, correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
The maker of an iPhone app that flags sightings of immigration agents is suing the Trump administration for free speech violations. Apple removed IceBlock and other apps from its store in October after Attorney General Pam Bondi claimed they put immigration and customs enforcement officers at risk. IceBlock app maker Joshua Aaron argues this violates the First Amendment. With more than 1 million users, IceBlock was the most widely used of the ICE tracking apps in Apple's App Store. Aaron countered his app works no differently from Apple's own Maps app that lets drivers know about nearby police speed traps. Google also followed Apple in taking down some ICE tracking apps, but IceBlock was never available on Google's Android phone platform. I'm Ed Donahue.
Japan has lifted tsunami warnings and evacuation orders after a massive earthquake. The magnitude 7.5 quake was centered in Japan's northeast, over 400 miles from Tokyo. 30 people were reported injured by the earthquake, but Japanese authorities reported no damage to power plants or major infrastructure. In 2011, this same area experienced one of the largest earthquakes ever recorded, a magnitude 9.0 that caused a massive tsunami wave that devastated a wide swath of the nation's Pacific coastline and killed nearly 20,000 people. Shifting gears, it seems that American tariffs have had the opposite effect on China's trade as the communist nation's surplus has topped $1 trillion for the first time as its exports surge while imports lag behind. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports this amid less overall trade with the U.S. over tariffs.
China's exports returned to growth in November after an unexpected contraction in October, pushing its trade surplus for 2025 past the 1 trillion mark for the first time. Exports climbed 5.9% from a year earlier, while imports rose just under 2%. Customs data also shows that shipments to the U.S. dropped nearly 29% year on year. As trade with the U.S. weakens, China is diversifying its export markets throughout Southeast Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America. With exports still going strong, economists generally expect China to meet its economic growth target of around 5% for this year. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Facebook parent company Meta's AI research team has just released a new paper suggesting that the future development of AI should be a team-up with humans in full control of the off switch. Chuck Palm has that in today's Tech Report.
A new paper from Meta AI researchers Jason Weston and Jacob Forrester argued that a fully autonomous, self-improving AI is too risky. They propose that systematic human-AI co-improvement is safer and a faster path to superintelligence. Recent advancements in AI show that it can already modify its own parameters, create data, or pick different objectives. The paper authors highlight that this problem is a poor sample efficiency, unvalidated safety properties, and no reliable off switch. They propose a structured co-improvement loop where humans and AI jointly define the problems, design the experiments, and run evaluations. The human-AI collaboration further proposes problem identification, hypothesis generation, and safety validation, and a human-controlled off switch should things go off the rails. Find me at thenewoldtechguy.com. I'm Chuck Palm.
America in the Morning's Robert Workman has NFL and more in Tuesday Sports.
Monday Night Football in L.A., the Chargers edged the Eagles 22-19 in overtime in whatever the opposite of an instant classic is. 8 turnovers between the two teams last night, 5 by Philadelphia quarterback Jalen Hurts, including 2 on one play. His pass was picked off by L.A.'s Deshaun Hand, who fumbled. Hurts then recovered the ball before he fumbled, and the Chargers got it after all. The people who keep track of those things say it's the first time an NFL player has made 2 turnovers on one play. Cameron Dicker booted 5 field goals for the Bolts before the game ended on, you guessed it, a Jalen Hurts interception. Week 15 begins Thursday with the Falcons at the Buccaneers. Could be back to the future in Indianapolis. The Colts lost their starting quarterback, Daniel Jones, to a season-ending Achilles injury Sunday. Then his backup, Riley Leonard, reported a knee issue yesterday, so they called former Colts QB Phillip Rivers, who last played 5 years ago. He'll be up there for a tryout today. The Colts will be in Seattle on Sunday. College football, the Heisman Trophy will be awarded Saturday night in New York. The finalists announced Monday. Number 1 Indiana's quarterback Fernando Mendoza leads the list, along with number 2 Ohio State's QB Julian Sayin, Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia, and Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love. NBA, the Sun shaded the Timberwolves 108-105 to end Minnesota's 5-game winning streak, despite 40 points from Anthony Edwards. Phoenix had 6 players score in double figures. The Spurs nipped the Pelicans 135-132, despite rookie Derek Queen's first ever triple-double, which included a game-high 33 points. San Antonio had 7 players in double digits. That's Tuesday Sports.
Snag in the Warner Brothers Netflix proposed merger when America in the Morning continues after these messages. The proposed Warner Brothers Netflix merger just became a whole lot more complicated with a late bidder emerging. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr has details and what could come next.
The $83 billion deal for the streaming giant to buy Warner Brothers was announced on Friday. On Sunday night, during the red carpet at the Kennedy Center Honors, President Trump addressed the merger.
Well, that's got to go through a process, and we'll see what happens.
He also showed some trepidation due to the company's combined footprint.
They have a very big market share, And when they have Warner Brothers, that share goes up a lot. So I don't know. That's going to be for some economists to tell. And I'll be involved in that decision too. But it is a big market share. There's no question about it. It could be a problem.
On Monday, Paramount launched a hostile takeover bid for Warner Brothers for $30 per share, totaling $108 billion in cash. At the UBS Global Media and Communications Conference on Monday, Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos said the move was, quote, entirely expected and assured investors that they had a, quote, done deal, Carrie Flynn from Axios reports. Sarandos also downplayed the complexity of the deal itself.
And this is, in many ways, not as complicated as many of the things we've already done. So we look forward to the next phase of this and getting this deal approved and moving forward.
On Sunday, Trump disclosed that Sarandos had visited him before Netflix announced the merger.
He came up. He was in the Oval Office last week.
Another potential wrinkle that has emerged for the president is that the Paramount bid is backed by his son-in-law Jared Kushner's affinity partners. I'm Kevin Carr.
The annual list of the Golden Globe nominations are out. Correspondent Jennifer King has details of what movies, TV shows, streaming programs, and podcasts made the cut.
You know what freedom is? No fear. Just like Tom Cruise.
The Golden Globe nominations are out, and Paul Thomas Anderson's film One Battle After Another leads with 9 nominations, continuing Oscar buzz around what critics describe as both an action thriller and a dystopian screwball comedy. Joachim Tier's Norwegian family drama Sentimental Value had 8 nominations, and Ryan Coogler's acclaimed vampire movie Sinners follows with 7. Notable snubs included Wicked for Good, nominated for 5 awards, but not Best Comedy or Musical. For the first time ever, podcasts got their own category. The 6 nominations were a mix of news, advice, and celebrity interviews like Call Her Daddy and the Mel Robbins podcast, avoiding popular political podcasts, and leaving some experts scratching their heads. The Globes air this January 11th on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus, with comedian Nikki Glaser returning as host. I'm Jennifer King.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.